Most of you guys listening to the podcast are old dudes like me. We've all heard the same conversation for years. How do we get young techs into the industry? Today's different. I'm talking to the youngest shop owner I've ever met, Peyton Bell, a 25-year-old owner of Bell Auto Body in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Peyton's got that dominate the world energy, and he's aiming it at the Oklahoma Senate. Now, honestly, I'm not a legislation guy. I'm not even sure legislation is the answer to the insurance problem for shops because done wrong, it can actually harm them. But I'm sure of this. Peyton's tenacity is a lesson for us all. In this episode, he walks us through how to actually start the process in your state, how to pitch it so lawmakers care, and why he believes one principle should be non-negotiable. If the OEM says it's required for a safe repair, an insurer shouldn't be able to deny payment for it. And on that, we can both agree. In this episode, we discuss the playbook, the pushback, and what it takes to change the rules instead of caving in on every concession and every claim. Hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome to Operational Intelligence. I'm Tom Zoblin. I spent 15 years running a marketing agency in the collision industry. I sold it, and now I build AI tools at the Hero Group to help shops run better. The world does not need another collision podcast full of generic industry talk, so I'm doing this one my way. It's owners teaching owners, one episode, one topic, and one operational lesson that you can take back to your shop and use. And seriously, what is it with all these marketing people turned podcast hosts anyway? So Peyton, I've been waiting to hear the backstory. I know that there's kind of an interesting story about how you got into the collision business. First of all, I just want to point out you're probably the youngest guest I've had. You're only 2 years older than my son, so you're literally like half my age. So I think a lot of people in the collision business are around my age, so you're definitely one of the young guns. And so it's going to be really interesting, I think, to get not only your perspective, but to hear how does a young guy, most young guys are like starting out as a technician. Most owners were technicians. They were for a while. They had an opportunity to maybe buy out the shop they were working for or whatever. But you're coming in at kind of young technician level and an owner. So that's got to be an interesting story. And I'm really interested to hear how that all happened.
Yeah. Well, a little bit of backstory about me. I've always struggled with working for other people. I know a lot of guys have that same story. I had my first job at a racetrack when I was like 16 years old, 15 years old, and it maybe lasted 3 weeks and I was already out the door. So I started my first, steps into the entrepreneurial world, in lawn care when I was 15, 16 years old, mowing lawns in high school. And I actually grew that company, through the 4 years in high school, to a commercial lawn and landscape company. I had multiple crews. We were taking care of city water treatment plants, HOAs. We were doing holiday light installations,
Wow.
big landscaping projects. So it grew to the point where I was leaving school early to go do jobs. And, I had cool agreements with my teachers and whatnot, and they'd let me sneak out at fifth hour or whatnot and go take care of business. And I drove a big, diamond lawn care stapled on the side of the truck, and everybody knew who it was. So
Wow.
it was definitely cool to get, positive feedback from people that you look up to, and getting into, business ownership. And I was in all the business classes, and they were like, yeah, go Peyton. So a lot of support there. And I ended up, selling that company to go to college, and I went to Oklahoma State University. And I went into the Spears School of Business. My family really pushed for college and kind of didn't really know where I wanted to go. Business ownership was stressful. I really just had my mom. I didn't have any other side of the family. Mom was a physical therapist. Nobody else had been an entrepreneur in the family, so I was really the first one. And she was like, you should go to college for this. And so I went, and I made it 3 weeks, just like my first job. And I did not even withdraw. I just packed it up and left.
Wow.
For me, as an entrepreneur, you kind of have to sit back and wait sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And, my neighbor owned this body shop called Bob's Paint and Body. And I was always into big trucks when I was a kid. And he had this big lifted truck, and I loved everything about it. And he was a cool guy. And so I hit him up, and I was like, hey, man, I know you're remodeling your body shop. I've got a bunch of construction experience. I got a bunch of buddies that, can help with this. Let me come work for you. So he brings me on, and I'm essentially, running the remodel, and then just a handyman, doing everything that you can think of in a body shop, fixing light fixtures, fixing paint booths, sheetrock, drywall, painting floors, keeping up with the booth. And in all of this, you learn how the business operates.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that for about 2 months, where on the handyman side, and then while I was there on a scissor lift, I watched one of his employees just up and quit. And I had some background in cars and trucks and working on my own stuff. I built a Supra in high school, and built my own trucks and whatnot. So I had a small toolkit and a desire to want to work on cool stuff. I mean, they were doing, brand new cars, stuff that I hadn't gotten my hands on. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm 20 years old, and almost 21. And so, I convinced him to let me bring my toolbox up, and, same pay, salary, cheap, still floor sweeper pay. And
Mm-hmm.
I got to start working on the cars, and, figured out how they were built really quick, just turned into a pretty fast tech.
Mm-hmm.
I keep up with the guys. I still am not the best with Bondo and sculpting. That's
Mm-hmm.
not my but I can splice quarters. I can pull frames. I understand the geometry of the car, and I really clung on to the transfer of energy and how the safety systems worked in the cars.
Mm-hmm.
Really, that just fascinated me, and so I would do my own research. And well, this is where things get kind of crazy. While I'm working there, I come into work one day, and the place is like a ghost town. I'm there, first one there, and waiting on people to open the doors. And I come in, and all of my toolbox drawers are open, and there's paper strung everywhere. And, the place looked like it had been ransacked. And I go into the office, and the safe is sitting on the desk, and the door's open to the safe, and there's this stack of papers sitting on the top of the safe. And so I looked at one of the papers, and it said, I'm police department search warrant.
Wow.
And immediately it clicked. I was like, okay, obviously a lot of people served a big warrant here. I've seen, crime TV shows. I know how that goes down.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of went back and put my tools, took an inventory, made sure all my tools were there. Fortunately, nothing was missing. And everybody eventually came in, and business was kind of normal, minus the owner. And I wait for the manager to show up, and I kind of walk into the door, and I look at him all wide-eyed, and I was like, he's in jail, isn't he? And he goes, how'd you know that? And I'm like, well, you don't got to be a rocket scientist to figure out what this stack of papers is and the safe that's up on the desk. And so I'm not going to go into too much detail on, exactly what it was, but substances with things that go boom, and people overseas that shouldn't be intertwined in American business. And
Wow.
less like just stuff that is like way over my head was involved, and the federal government, got involved with that gentleman. And so, that's all I'm going to say on that stuff. But ultimately, it resulted in his absence. And so I watch, some family come in from out of state, try to run the business. And, a lot of the customer base where we were getting the work from, obviously they pulled strings, cut ties. So the revenue dropped substantially. And keep in mind, I'm just a tech, and nobody knows any of my backstory but the guy that got, put in the poker.
Right.
And so I'm just kind of back and waiting and watching, and I got this bright idea. I was like, that I might be able to do this. I think I could probably pull this off. And so I start talking to the manager, and I think there was one time where it showed him that I could do it. And it was when a customer had an issue with one of their cars. The office was not really wanting to deal with the customer. And so I come back covered in grease. After fixing this customer car, they're like, Peyton, get this thing right. It was a comeback from another repair from another technician. So I fix it, and I go up and talk to the customer, and I was like, just call her Miss Susan. Miss Susan, hey, my name's Peyton. I'm the technician that worked on your car. This is what was wrong. This is where we messed up. This is how I fixed it. Trust me, this is done right. I did it per procedure. And, gave her a sense of security before she took her car. And the management was like, where'd you learn how to do that and talk like that? Now, then I think that kind of gave them the idea that it's like I could do the office work,
Right.
I can be on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And so Then they started letting me get into the office. The manager did at the time, and he kind of showed me the ropes of how things worked. And the family was really, really not wanting to let go of this place. They wanted to maximize their gain from what they could get, and prep for what attorneys and whatnot.
Yeah.
I understood all that, but the company was bleeding and it was going to die. And ultimately, it came down to either you're going to file bankruptcy and lose this place, or you're going to sell it over to me, because nobody wants to touch this thing with a 10-foot pole, given what happened with the previous owner. And there were some big vendor debts that had to be paid down, and there were people that were pissed off that were owed money by the company. And so ultimately, I circumvented the family and got directly to the owner. I'm not going to tell you how, but I got a hold of him while he was in the pokey, and I got the paperwork drafted to getting, to get the business and get all of the, the things in order to buy a business. There's a lot of it.
Yeah. I've been through that once selling mine. So
it's everything but a rectal exam, dude.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
And so ultimately, I personally drove to the jail and walked into the jail and put the paperwork in front of him. And he said, "You've been blessed. Good luck, kid." And that day I got the business. I was 21 years old. I had everything. And so now I've got this long list of debts that need to be paid down. I agreed to indemnify him of all of his debts. I said, I'm going to pull this thing out of the hole. I'm going to get it where it needs to be. And so I used a lot of cash that I had sitting in my account from my previous ventures. I told you I've bought, sold businesses and built them up into this point, and wasn't exactly the smartest with my money, but I had some. And so I put that in, as well as getting with a private investor that has been a real big mentor for me in business. He's an awesome guy. And I'm not going to reveal who he is, but he is as the closest thing to a father figure and mentor that I've had. And he's like my foundation for being in business, supports me and has helped me get to where I am today.
That's great.
He invested, as well as putting in my own capital, and then a ton of sweat equity, let me tell you. So what I did was I paid down all the vendor bills with my money. And I went to every vendor and I said, "My name's Peyton. Bob's Paint and Body is no longer a thing. We are now Bell Auto Body. And I'm going to pay Bob's Paint and Body's debt with my own money. And I want you to send me all the work and maintain this relationship, and we're going to grow together." And I said, "Your other option is this company is going to file bankruptcy and this bill's not getting paid."
Yeah.
And so they were very quick to take the
right.
Yeah. And so I had some forced way into some vendors that were responsible for a high volume of cars. And so I had the work, I had the staff. Now we had all the building blocks that we needed, and I literally roughed it through the first year of trial by fire on how to write estimates. And Collision Hub was huge.
Yeah.
Leaning on Larry and Kristen and taking their courses. I mean, I spent thousands of dollars with Collision Hub, but it was the best money that
absolutely.
I dove right. And now keep in mind, this is 2021. So, and to make things easy, the year it is how old I am.
Right.
2000.
Yeah.
To let you build the timeline and correlate it with my age. 2021, 21-year-old kid, never written an estimate in his life, went to writing sheets and negotiating with adjusters as the owner, all within 6 months. And so there was a lot of learning, and there were some adjusters that actually helped me, and then there were some adjusters that took advantage of my ignorance and really screwed their pooch. But hindsight's 2020. You learn through these things.
So let's move on from that. Let's get to the thing that really matters here, what the main topic is. So, the whole podcast is about, and we talked about a lot of things that I think you do best, but the thing that we wanted to focus on for this podcast is your, getting involved at the state level, you would kind of mentioned it a little bit with some of the laws. You're obviously well versed in it. So if I were to ask you again, what's the one thing that you do better than any other shop out there? What would you say that is?
I'm dang near a politician. Oh, no, I'm not. But I can tell you that getting into the legislative space is the most important thing you can do as a business owner in collision repair. That is it. That right now, this is the time to get into legislation. There's a lot of people that I look up to that don't agree with me.
Yeah,
And
there's a lot.
I'm still in conversation with those people. And because I want to know, I'm a sponge for information. But the way I see it is insurance companies have leveled the playing field between their network and the independents. There is nothing that sets an independent apart from an insurance company's estimate, right? They are paid the same, whether it's at the MSO or it's at the insurance at the non-insurance shop. They have gotten that strict on what they're willing to allow and what they're not willing to allow. Sometimes you can, beg and beg and beg and get 0.3 DNIB time, but there's not like thousands and thousands of dollars in difference without RTA. So State Farm in Oklahoma does not have an RTA in their policy. I don't know if they have it anywhere in the nation, but they're the number one offender for short pays here in Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Because we cannot invoke RTA, there is not one in the policy for repair disputes, so it is what it is. And they will write whatever they want. And usually it's the same thing that they would write across the street at the MSO. And so I'm fixing the cars for the same amount of money that the guys that are fixing 500 of these things improperly are doing. And so there's nothing that sets the independent apart. We don't have the option to do it right. We are forced to, I say financially forced. You're not forced. You're not forced to do anything. But you are financially burdened into doing it the wrong way by the carrier. All of this is about what the insurance company is willing to pay. They use payment as a way to steer the repair. I mean, their estimate, contractually, it doesn't mean anything. Like, it's just a reference sheet. Ultimately, it's the total dollar for the claim and what you wanted, like, your estimate is actually what matters because your estimate reflects what you actually did to the car.
Yeah.
So, like, the only way that you are going to get change in your facility is if you bill the customer.
Exactly.
And the customer has the money to go out of pocket and pay for the correct repairs.
Right.
And go get reimbursement from their insurance carrier, which is cumbersome on the customer. It is timely, and it takes a lot of time for me to explain that process and explain what you have to do to, everything from filing in small claims to talking to attorneys, and it just scares the average person. There's a lot of people that have never been into a courtroom. Back in 2021, they would pay for it. Now they won't. It doesn't matter. Like I showed you guys the video with State Farm where they just blatantly denied airbag reprogramming.
Yeah.
Because Opus wouldn't write for it. And I provided all the procedure and they still said, no, you can try to send it in, but it's not going to help you. So that's what we're dealing with. If there's a law put in place, the insurance companies are in the legislative space. They're in there deep. They got, there's money going into these, but the people still have to be elected. And the constituents are going to be who the politicians listen to when enough of them complain. And so if you want to gain traction, you get in the room with those senators. You get in the room. You go have lunch. I got lunch on the 27th with a senator from District 9 here in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. We're having coffee. I also go to the meet and greets. I met the attorney general, the guy that I'm suing. I went and talked to him. I had to sue him on a formality. He's actually a really great guy. He's also running for governor here in Oklahoma. We had a short conversation and he understands, a lot of this. And so these people are not evil. Like there's a big misconception that every single politician is just bought and dirty. I mean, look at what you sent me this morning with Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
They're bringing a bill to the table that I don't know exactly how it's written. I haven't had the time to go into their bill because I've been working on my own.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's very pro body shop the way it's written. It reads to me.
Absolutely, and not only pro body shop but pro consumer.
Pro consumer, yes.
But like we want the customers taken care of. My business will make money whether I put an aftermarket bumper or an OEM bumper on the car. But and my business will also make money whether you hot glue fenders on the car or you put the bolts in the right way. Like the act of fixing the car is going to generate money, hence why the MSOs are still in business.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, it's the consumer's safety that you're advocating for.
Yes.
It's what happens in the next collision. And so to ensure that we have safe vehicles on the road, and that these cars are going to hold up in the next crash, and the airbag timing is not going to be affected in a negative way by the repairs that are being executed this time. We have to follow that procedure. We have to follow XYZ. And so when you present this to an insurer and they say, no, we're not going to pay for it. You're not allowed to do it. We're not going to pay for you to do it. You got to bill the customer. And then you go to the customer and they're like, I can't afford it. And now you're like, okay, well, for me to do it the wrong way, you need to sign a hold harmless and take this car back that's potentially repaired improperly and maybe has a collapsed steering column, or maybe the airbag mounting bracket bolts are messed up, or there's a million things that woulda, coulda, shoulda, could be, or what ifs that you just don't know until you check. You're doing an injustice to the customer every time you fix a car and do not review. And also you're inheriting a huge amount of liability. I don't know if you know who John Eagle is, but
yeah,
my God,
yeah,
stuff's real.
yeah.
And I tell lawmakers, a family burned inside of a Honda Fit on the highway because of an improper repair. Is it going to take Oklahomans burning in the car or death of Oklahomans on the road due to improper collision repair for you to listen, or are you going to listen to me now? And that usually gets their attention.
Yeah.
And you got to have energy when you're talking to these people. Politicians really don't talk to that many constituents when it comes to the same issue over and over again. If you send an email to a politician, you'll get a call back. If 2 people send an email to a politician, they're going to be like, what is going on? If 5 people contact that same politician over the same issue from different areas, they're like, this must be the end of the world. The sky's falling. Like, the numbers aren't that insane. It doesn't take but a group of people that is from one city to make a difference in an entire state. And with your association gets a lobbyist and the lobbyist is doing the right thing, you can get change. And so when the bill is written properly, the way I would see it, it is an insurer cannot deny payment for OEM parts, OEM mine item material billing.
Yeah.
I've commented it a few times on Facebook and a couple of different small places, but the big ticket is not telling body shops what to do.
Yeah.
You're not going to tell somebody how to run their business.
Yes.
But what you are going to do is you're going to say, hey, Mr. Insurance Company, you cannot deny payment for this if it's requested from you. So leave the DRPs intact. If they don't ask for OEM parts, then the liability falls on that shop
right
for your part.
Yeah.
It's between the shop and the customer, and that's a battle that they're going to have to fight. But you can't mandate that I inherit this this liability nightmare of a car with a bunch of salvage and aftermarket parts that's not permitted to be on the vehicle, and run the risk of airbags not deploying at the right time, or seatbelt not working, or the steering column going through the center of somebody's chest. Like it's just, you can't mandate that a business do that. And so if the business writes for factory procedure, factory part, factory this, and then supplies the documentation like we did in 2021, an insurance company cannot deny payment for that. The people that disagree with me, tell me how I'm wrong. What is the other side of this page that I am not seeing?
I'll tell you. So I've seen shops that'll do the hold harmless thing, but they do push back on insurance companies, and they do get, maybe State Farm in your area, you're not able to make any moves back, but what they'll tell you is to bill the customer and then have them, like, it's not your problem. Like if you're a cardiologist and you just saved a person's life, you'll guide them to, and let's say they have to pay out of pocket for stuff, like I had my gallbladder out a year ago. I have really great insurance. I had to pay $1,300 out of pocket for it, the things that weren't covered. And they came in little drips and drabs, and it's like, well, this wasn't covered for $37 and this wasn't covered for $110, but all in total is $1,300. I think that the ones that would disagree with you, and I'm not picking a side here, so let me just put that out there. But that is what they would say is you just got to bill your customer. You just got to get better at doing that, because ultimately it's not your responsibility, but as you've highlighted, that your responsibility is to fix that car safely. But I've seen shops do the hold harmless thing where they've gotten it. So let's say you're short paid $4,900, right? And you can push back and you can push back and you get it down to that $1,500. So they're not out $4,900, but maybe there's a $1,500 gap and you bill them for that. And you let them know all through the beginning of the whole process from the time you're speaking with them that you may be responsible for this bill. I'm also one of the guys that was on my podcast. He has them sign a contract. He's not going to touch the car until you agree that you may be responsible and you're signing a legal contract with him. So that person has agreed to use this shop. They want their car fixed that way. He's the only independent shop in a small town full of nothing but DRP shops. But I agree with you. I think that there should be legislation that you can't deny something simply because you don't want to pay for it. That should be illegal. I think that if you're to kind of talk to most shop owners, your pathway, while it may lead to what you want, it's a really long, hard road to get there. You got to spend all this time with politicians. You got to do all this kind of stuff. The average guy just trying to fight for survival, I think he's going to look at what could I really do here in my shop, and he's going to probably focus on, pushing back to the insurance company with whatever means that is, and then getting that customer to pay or just not fixing the car. If they acknowledge the fact that my business is at risk for not doing it this way, like if I do it the insurance
and what
insurance
he's probably
way,
going to run into is his volume is going to shrink so much that his car count won't keep the lights on. He's going to drop payroll, and the business is going to shrink, and they're going to choke out, and that's what the insurance company wants. They want you to die. They want all that work to go through their network shops. They don't like when things
no doubt, yeah.
And so, as the networks get stronger and stronger and stronger, I guess the real question is maybe this industry isn't for you. That's a thought that you really need to consider, and I've considered it many times. I mean, if I put the same amount of thought into oil and gas that I do this industry, I'm pretty sure that I'd be making a lot more money. Like if I actually tried as hard as I do in this entire industry and community in something else, it would be more lucrative. But it doesn't help people. It only helps me.
Yeah.
I get the itch to help, and I feel good once I've accomplished helping somebody else. I've made a friend, I've made a connection, I've made a relationship. I don't make customers for one time. I make repeat customers that want to come back and they refer. And so you make those positive experiences here. And that's really what I love to do. You do have to be stern. You have to be clear cut. There are times where you have to bill the customer. If you're not going to make profit on the job and the job is just that poorly written, and I've had a few, you can't afford to go out of pocket, you've got to turn the work down. But you can refer them to the nearest person that's going to do the work for that amount of money that you might trust. And you can educate the customer. You should probably get full coverage and go with this insurance company that has an RTA in their policy so that I can fix this next time. You've got to be willing to put in the effort. And if you don't do it now with the customers that you have, you're going to die. You're going to fizzle up and die. That's how I see it, because your reputation is everything. And what is setting you apart from the Gerbers and the MSOs right now? The only thing that's setting you apart is you've got friction with the insurance company and Gerber doesn't. You're getting the same parts, the same labor times. Well, what's the difference? The services that you provide for the customer for free. That is what's going to be the difference. And mine is a network of referrals and ways to help. And so I don't know if you want to call it my final act or whatever, if it's the last thing that I do in this industry, but getting a law passed that helps everyone and has no downside. And don't give me this claims cost BS where premiums are going to go up, because I'll show you the graphs of aftermarket part usage from 2021 to 2025, claims prices from 2021 to 2025 on average, insurance premium prices from 2021 to 2025 on average, and insurance profits from 2021 to 2025 on average. Run all of them, and all of them run concurrent. That's a problem. If they get the DOI to raise claims or premiums, and they get the DOI to agree to raise premium prices amongst an entire state, your problem's in the DOI. Your problem is not in the insurance company, because of course the insurance company is going to want to pass cost on the customer. If I was running business, that's what I would do. It's a smart business move. I want to maintain my profit margins that I have had. But if you're regulated by a government entity like a Department of Insurance commissioner, you need to make sure your insurance commissioner isn't bought by the insurance companies and is keeping premium prices in check. They're the ones that audit those accounts. They're the ones that have the inspecting glass over the insurance companies to make sure that they've got the money to cover claims, make sure they're not over insuring. And do I need to pull up what State Farm's profits were in Q4 2025?
Yeah, right, yeah.
Like we've been down this road.
Yeah.
Everybody knows this correlation. So I don't give me the dumb argument where premium prices are going to go up. Then talk to your DOI. Seriously, because you're choking out small business owners who are trying to do the right thing. You're pushing everything to MSOs, which clearly can't fix cars right. John Eagle, hot glued fenders, and so I just
so Peyton. So then you're I guess what you're saying is that you're writing your insurance your estimates. The insurance estimate comes back, and you feel that there's literally no wiggle room. You just got to figure out how to fix the car the way the insurance company is writing it. Is that correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I can do a demo a day where I demo, like I'll put my meta glasses on and we'll watch what an insurance company does. They refuse to talk to me in person. They don't like it. They do not like talking to me on the phone because they know I record it. They do not like emailing me. They like talking to other estimators that are here and then passing a message on to me. I try to catch them when I can, but they're like, dude, State Farm will literally do a drive-by in my parking lot, pull into my gate without anybody knowing, not check in, take pictures of the car and leave without telling us. It happens all the time.
So are you dealing with, at your shop, are you dealing with in-person adjusters all the time, or are you dealing with the desk jockey that's somewhere corporate? Yeah.
So when it does go to field, if it gets to the wrong team, it's really, really tough to navigate.
So you try pushing back and you're not winning any single argument at all. Is that what you're saying? Not one single?
Sometimes I'll win. Like I can remind State Farm to run Opus on a car. Sometimes I have to do that. I'm like, did you run this through Opus? Can I at least get the Opus, whatever they're going to pay? I'm like, it's not going to cover everything, but it's something. But I mean, dude, I can pull up files. My attorney's got a lot of this stuff where I have just got documentation out the just wazoo. And I've got photos of it being done. Like I fixed it the right way, in process photos and send it all in. And I verbatim, I have it recorded. I have an insurance adjuster saying, I'm tired of you asking for forgiveness instead of permission. I'm not paying for this.
So what do you feel about the idea of, if you were to get in front of that customer before the insurance company is talking to them, and you were to say, have a thing that said, here's where the insurance company is going to push back. Here's where they're going to tell you they're not paying for things, but here's why your vehicle needs this, why we say your vehicle needs this. It's not me, it's the manufacturer. Of all that documentation. And then you copy the insurance company. Do you think that will flip the script at all, so that now they're playing defense on that? They're just going to still deny it.
Have the money to pay out of pocket. If your demographic is not a high enough echelon of people because I have a very big mix in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I've got just down the street, there's a couple of $10 million mansions. And then on literally the other side of the street, there's like dilapidated rental houses that have been there for 40 years and are in desperate need of roof that State Farm won't pay for. And so like we've got just all over the place out here. Like there's not just one demographic, but when you run into the people that don't have $5,000 burning a hole in their pocket to pay for collision repair and say that person's paycheck to paycheck, how are you going to help them? Like, are you going to sit on your soapbox and say, I'm only going to fix, the rich people's cars and I'm only going to help them because they have the money to help themselves?
No, I understand that. But, so I was at the HD repair forum last year in Texas, and there was a guy there that works for 3M. He was a body shop insurance adjuster that then went to work for the insurance company, rose through the ranks, and was like some sort of supervisor level thing where he had those desk jockey guys beneath him. And his whole thing was he said, literally spelled out how it works on the insurance side. They have certain, well, now it's like software that they have. The insurance company has software that just scrubs every estimate. I mean, I'm sure you probably submitted an estimate, and within seconds you got something back. Like I've
had
heard,
adjusters come in and show me their computers and their
it,
process on how to. I've got
yeah,
friends that are adjusters, and so I've seen the software how it scrubs on mid
yeah,
scrubs on CCC.
yeah. So it's looking to cut certain things. What he said is that a lot of times what they actually need is proper documentation. It's not that they don't want to get it paid for, but I think they're playing the averages game that most people aren't going to push back. They're just going to take it. They're just, okay, this is all insurance company is going to pay, and that's the end of it. But he said that a lot of times if you can give that adjuster documentation for the pieces that you're saying that you need, the difference, that not always, but it'll win some of that. So my position is that if you could close that gap to where it's a small enough amount that your customer pays, then you can decide, I'm going to give this to you, Mr. Customer, my dime, or you're going to have to pay for it. But if you could somehow close the gap, but that only works if you're like, that's the whole premise behind reclaimer, the pushback side, the is the ability to look at every single line item, write a rebuttal with documentation that goes back to that insurance company to get them to pay for it. Like, hey, this was missing in CCC. This is a not included. This is this is this to get that gap down, so that maybe it's down to from $4,900 to like $1,500, and then you can decide what to do there. You can get creative with your customer and say, well, you know, we could reuse this emblem here. We could do this. And then you can try to get it down as far as you want, or just not do it and get them to sign a hold harmless. Like, that's a business decision at that point, what you want to do. But you're saying that no matter what you do, you never win any argument back, because that's not what I hear.
Extreme. That's extreme because I've got tunnel vision right now because I'm thinking of all the losses, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm not thinking of all my wins. I have wins every day.
Okay.
Like there's a lot of like Haggerty claims. You guys are awesome. Chubb's claims department. You guys are phenomenal.
Okay.
Like there's stuff that rolls through here, but when I talk, remember I told you what files I deal with on a daily basis,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Remember what I said?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dumpster fires only.
Yeah.
Every file that comes to my desk is already being denied by my primary estimators. So we've already got friction from company policy to the insurance company and what they want to write.
Okay.
And then once it gets to me and my estimators are like, I tried everything I can. I gave them all the documents that you said. I ran the scripts. I did the AI prompts, when that's integrated. Mm-hmm. They're still not paying it. Then yeah. So you're talking to the guy that doesn't see the wins. Like, yeah, the bank account might look okay, but yeah, the business wouldn't be in business if we didn't have wins with these insurance.
So yeah. And I'm glad we clarified that, because it was starting to worry me. I thought you were going to say that, no, it doesn't matter what you say. You could tell them that that the car needs paint, and they said, we don't pay for paint. Like, that's an opposite. That's an extreme, but that
is where we're headed, because when you think about how insurance works, okay, insurance is actually a reimbursement contract.
Yes. For
insurance to be valid, you have to incur a loss. For a claim to be valid, you have to incur a loss. I think it's my opinion that an insurance company is actually like the claims department and how we handle claims. A lot of it is a courtesy, in a sense, to their policyholder to pay for damage and not make you pay for it out of pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so per the policy, the insurance company really only owes what you pay. It's a reimbursement contract. So for you to incur a loss, you have to pay something and get a receipt for it. Like, hey, I lost X amount of dollars. And so when an insurance company says, oh, just bill the customer, like, yeah, like when you boil it down to its roots, this entire thing is billed to the customer. That's why your estimates say the customer's name and not State Farm or Geico or Allstate. Like all the bills are to the customer, and they are paying it on the customer's behalf. And so, an insurance company can absolutely walk into your shop and say, I don't pay for paint. I don't pay for frame time. Our body labor rate is $10 an hour. Our paint rate is $5 an hour. Our materials rate is $3 an hour. and we don't pay based off of any estimating system. We just shoot from the hip. We're going to write it down in a sticky note and hand it to you. That is 100% legal. They are completely within their rights to do that as an adjuster. Now, is it unreasonable? Yes. Would a court of law blow them to pieces? Absolutely.
Right.
But there's nothing in that policy that says they can't do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a free, they get to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
Every time you get a win, that's a win. Because really, they could just not give you anything and then make you charge the customer and then they get reimbursed. But insurance doesn't operate like that.
Yeah.
Because the average American doesn't have $15,000 sitting in their savings account ready to pay for collision repair and they get reimbursed by the insurance.
Have you ever tried any of the Klarna or the payment option things to help your customers pay?
Financing through a firm and whatnot.
Right.
I've had a couple of customers that want to do that. And I've even done, it's a friends and family deal, but in-house financing is sometimes an option if you know the person and sure you're not going to lose your butt on it. But yes, in-house financing is absolutely an option, and it is a way to show on paper a loss. But then again, getting an attorney to represent you in property damage is becoming harder and harder. And now the DOI is pushing law or administrative rule at least, to remove an attorney's fees from any insurance claim related action. They're trying to reduce litigation by saying we're not going to let the attorneys get paid for taking on cases. So now these attorneys are just not going to take your property damage cases on any accord because all the money that's awarded goes back to replacing the property that was damaged. And now they can't even get attorney's fees. So they have to pad it in somehow. And you're just not going to do that. It just doesn't happen. So, yeah, it's getting more and more difficult. And this will, all of these brick walls that you hit. Okay, this is where being the entrepreneur and being the go-getter helps. Because you hit a brick wall, you don't fall on your face, you find a way around.
Right.
And every single brick wall that I have hit has always led me to legislation. Every time I talk to somebody who's like, build a customer, I'm like, what are you going to do when they don't have the money? How are you going to help them? Do you really not care about the customer? Are you going to let them go to the shop you know is going to hack her car up with crappy parts? Or are you going to fight for her? Oh, I don't have time to do that. I'm a business owner. Okay, cool. Go do your business stuff. I have better things to do. I'm going to work. What I value is helping the customer. And if you really, really push and you start pushing through these brick walls or walk around them until you get to the next one, you're going to hit a really tall brick wall when you get to the legislative step. When it's time to put legislation, it takes a lot of resources and time.
Yeah.
But it's doable. It's in my Facebook post, I say it's borderline impossible, but it's not impossible. You know what is impossible? Getting State Farm to pay for full-blown material invoices. That is impossible. I have done it to the end of time. And even when you charge the customer, they still won't reimburse the customer. I haven't had them go all the way to court, but I've had them pay out of pocket for it. And they still didn't get reimbursed. And that makes me look like a butt for saying, oh yeah, you can probably get reimbursed if you just pay for it out of pocket. These are the steps you have to go to. You might end up in court. You get a $1,500 material invoice that they, shorted on a tri-coat, 46V Mazda color. And the if you spray BASF, you know all about the cherry red toner prices. It's astronomical.
I have one of those vehicles in my driveway with the Mazda crystal red.
If you ever got to repaint something on it, man, a bottle of toner this big is like $1,500.
Yeah.
But when you ask me how shops can, what's the one thing that I do that I'm proud of? It's pushing for the customer. And ultimately it lands at legislation. It lands not litigation, because the litigation aspect is getting rid of bad law. That's what I'm doing. And in Oklahoma, you can't litigate for a customer. We are bound by some really stupid laws that keep me out of court on behalf of customers. If I had my time in court, I wouldn't even push for any. I would just take every single one of these claims to court, but I can't get standing. Yeah. That's the problem. They're like, a contractor cannot pursue an insurance company based on da-da-da-da-da and, XYZ. Now House Bill 1084, assignment of benefits is null and void, and even more things that keep me out of the courtroom. They don't want me there because I'm the only one that can articulate why they need to pay it.
Yeah.
The customer doesn't know about all these airbag diagnostics and steering and this and that and the third. The people that know are the people that wear shirts like this that sit in the shop all day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so those are the people that need to be in court saying this is required. I'm a decorated, certified person. This is the reason why I'm allowed to say what I'm saying. This is why I'm saying what I'm saying. Here's the proof.
Mm-hmm.
When you go in as an expert witness in a court case, something, for a repair dispute, you like that's the shop's job to testify this stuff, or potentially an IA if they're, have their wits about them. And so I don't know, man.
So the pathway. So to kind of stick with my format here of, like if you were to teach a master class in this, like let's say, I get this podcast out there, and somebody in, I don't know, let's pick a state that, I don't know, Arizona or something, and they're fired up. They're like, you know what, enough is enough. I got to do something here, and I'm going to get a couple of shop owners together. We're gonna start having, meetings about this, whether they have a state auto body association that has any kind of strength or not, because that's a whole nother thing that'll ruffle feathers, even mentioning state auto body associations. A lot of people feel differently about those, the strength of those. But I'm a shop owner. I've had enough. I'm inspired by Peyton. What is it that you're trying to do, and what are the steps that the next guy should follow? Like if you're to my master class example, like if you were to teach a master class in this topic, what goes in that class? Like what do you need to cover in it? So let's start, it's two parts. So first part is, what is your ultimate aim? To get legislation on the books like they're trying to do right now in Georgia and in other states to change the laws? Okay.
On the books. Get it started.
Okay.
Put some heat on it, make the insurance company spend some money to fight it, see how much pushback you're going to get, and educate. Education is key. Just like you're educating your customer every time you drop a vehicle off, educate your politician on the issue. Be able to articulate it. You go home and talk to your wife, and I'm sure she already knows all about it. But say, hey, I would like to, do some mock, encounter with you and pretend like you don't know anything about this. And I'm going to try to articulate this in a way that somebody who's never fixed a car before or seen a body shop in their life understands it. Practice with friends. Start working on your sales pitch, essentially, and how you are going to articulate the issue that's in your industry without getting too technical, keeping it brief. Politicians' time is it's tough to attain sometimes. So when you get it, you want to make sure that it's powerful. And you get good at articulating the issue in the industry. Educate. Look up your area's senator. If you didn't vote, then look them up and figure out who it is. Find their email. It's really easy to find. We have AI, ChatGPT. Type in their name or just type in ChatGPT. Give me the contact information for X senator in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. It is going to pull up their name, their phone number, their email, their office address, a picture of them, a picture of their kids. Like, dude, these guys run for campaign. Their information is everywhere.
Right.
Hit them up. Call their secretary. If it's a senator, you're going to have a secretary at your state capitol that's going to take the call. Leave them a message. They'll call you back and say, I really want to schedule some time to talk with them on the phone. And then articulate it on the phone. And then when they have a meet and greet or they're hosting an event, show up and be like, hey, we spoke on the phone. This is how, I'm from the Auto Body Association in X city or X state, or, thank you for taking the time to talk with me last time. I really want to sit down and talk some more about what we can do in the state to fix this problem. They will listen. You are a constituent. That is their job, to listen. And so navigate. Every state's political landscape is going to be different, but start pushing and start talking to lobbyists. If your association has the money, get the money together to hire a lobbyist like Georgia did to really start pushing the matter at the Capitol. You are going to have to take time out of your day to do this.
Yeah.
If you have got 100 whips outside and you are an owner operator and you can't leave your desk, it's probably not your job to do this. You're probably not the best fit person for the job. But if you've got somebody in that association that's willing to do it, put in the time. Or if you can hire a manager for, 6 months to a year, or start looking at delegating tasks out to free up some time in your day, get better at time management, and find the time to put the effort into a coffee meet or go to a dinner. If you could score a dinner, great. You get an intimate setting with somebody where you can really convey a message and the issue at hand, but just be friendly. Make friends with the person, find out who they are, what they stand for, what their beliefs are, be normal and then pitch the issue. We're shop owners. We're not multi-millionaire corporate MSO owners. Our neighbors are the ones that we're fixing cars for. I don't live in the upper echelon of Miami. I live in downtown Broken Arrow, and I fix my neighbors' cars. And there's nothing special about us other than the fact that we fix cars for a living. And so we're the same. The constituents are the neighbors, and so we're helping everybody. And when you pitch that the safety matter and the airbag timing issue, if you can show the Honda airbag timing video that's on YouTube, it was published in 2014.
The watermelon. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So then what's the ask? So you get the guy, you get time with him. What's the ask? And sponsor bill, and then he'll say what? Let me get back to you. Let me look at that. Do you need 10 shop owners also asking at the same time, or so? Because that's what you told me.
We're doing this in Oklahoma right now.
Yeah.
As far as passing a bill, the Auto Body Association is working on some administrative rules. I am personally working on something that is on the legislative side. That's not administrative rule with the DOI. Something that's more along the lines of what Georgia is doing. And so I'm in the probing phase where I'm trying to find out who's going to support and who's not. And Oklahoma's got a lot of insurance agents that are in the Senate. And so that's how we ended up with the storage, laws and the things that regulate the body shops to a T. A couple of insurance agents, Lonnie Paxton and Mark Tedford, got together and passed some laws that tighten up on us, thinking that that's going to reduce claims costs and help everybody. But I mean, it's choking out the independents, and allowing insurance companies to leave cars for 45, 50 days at a time, and it doesn't cost them any money.
So you've met with your senators.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
in general.
And what do they say? What are they saying to you? That, hey, they want to sponsor it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They're like, let's get together. Let's do more work on this. You would be surprised what ChatGPT will do as far as political research. Don't ever use ChatGPT to finalize anything. You absolutely want a whole lot more than ChatGPT. But as far as framework goes and educating yourself and reading through what a bill would look like in your state and who the best sponsors might be based on their backgrounds, AI can help you with a lot of that.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to ask you. So what do you need next? You've personally spearheaded this thing for the state of Oklahoma. I'm sure there's a lot of shop owners in the state of Oklahoma. I wonder, do they even know that you're doing this? Do you need their help? Do you want them to join you in this cause? Is this a call to action to other shop owners in Oklahoma? So then, what do you need? What do you need next? So I don't know. I mean, couldn't even imagine having to pass any kind of law. So you've met with these guys. They said, let's get together. Are they actually putting time on a calendar? And so they are. So you're.
The 27th is my next meeting. 27th of this month.
And so what do you need for that? How are you prepping for that?
Oh, I just go in and tell the story.
Okay.
So, I've told this story enough times to where I can tell it to a caveman and he'll understand it. I mean, I try to dumb it down as much as I can. And with you're technical. You've been in the shop space, so I can get into technicalities of things.
Right.
So you're going to comprehend it. But really touching on hot glue and fenders on and airbag timing and how important it is and showing the John Eagle case and referencing a state that has been, experienced loss of life or extreme injury, as a result of improperly repaired vehicles is a good way to grab attention and then just pitch a solution and how it can benefit everyone.
So do you come armed with heavy statistics to show, where you've kind of done the math, things like that? Or I mean, you just high level, here's what's at stake. How do you get them, if they've got the insurance companies always in there, how do you get them to side with you, and to the point where, and then I can't like the Georgia bill is very thorough and thought out, like what's in there.
Yeah,
I can't imagine one person got there, so I'm wondering like what. I know you said they hired a lobbyist, like I'm sure that they've gotten some sort of like, what do we want in this bill? Or is it really just up to Peyton to figure all that out? Like, do they want more shop owners at that point?
yeah,
Like, is
yeah,
that, yeah.
absolutely. So what you want to do is ultimately get your association to host like a small luncheon or some sort of speaker event where
Mm-hmm.
it's in Oklahoma. We have Bricktown Brewery in Main Street in Oklahoma. That's where the Auto Body Association does a lot of its like little gatherings or your cocktail hour.
Mm-hmm.
Invite the politician up to meet everybody in the association, and you guys just talk, and they spend an hour there, get them drinks, whatever, and everybody's going to be pretty much singing the same tune, like, yeah, this is the issues that we're having, and thanking them for helping, and give the as far as the when you say spearhead, this cannot be done with just one person through and through.
Yeah.
Like, even if I was, I ran for office and got elected, I still couldn't do this by myself.
Right.
You can open the door for other people to come in behind you.
Yeah. So
set that example.
Right. So if he says to you, Peyton, listen, I got screwed on a collision repair myself one time, and it, it's affected me or whatever. Right? I have back injury from it, blah, 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 whatever. He's like, I'm on your side. I want to move forward with this. What is the next move? Do you then start calling other owners in the state, and you guys say, all right, guys, we need to put together we need to craft this bill? Like, who does that?
I mean, I spend a lot of time with ChatGPT and playing with it, and so it knows a lot about what it should be and what it should look like.
Sure.
I've given it other bills, and I just gave it the Georgia bill, letting it puke something out.
Yeah.
But you can put together what a bill would look like,
mm-hmm.
and you can generate it,
mm-hmm.
and you can pass it on to the representative that you're talking to and say, this is a rough draft. Ultimately, the legislator is going to pass that on to they're going to make their tweaks, and they're going to pass it on to the attorneys that are out there that draft these things. And you're just giving them the framework and what needs to be on the bill, and they're going to redraft it for you. But the power of ChatGPT, you can literally just say, make a bill for the state of Oklahoma. What would that look like? And it's going to generate something that is probably close to along the lines of what you need. Now, do not just click send by any means. Use your brain when you're doing this stuff, but it gives you an idea of what does a bill look like in the state of Michigan or in the state of Oklahoma, in Texas. It'll pull that framework, and so you can talk to your senator, and your senator that was elected, if they've been a senator before and they're seasoned, they know how to do this. A lot of them carry like 8 to 10 bills per legislative session, and they are filing machines. There's hundreds and hundreds of bills that are filed every single year.
Right.
Only a few of them actually make it through.
See, that's the other piece to this too, is that getting it to the next steps, or even as far as like the Georgia one.
You're going to rinse and repeat a few times.
Yeah. Like this is years long process,
Absolutely. Yeah. But if you don't start now,
you're
just
you're gonna be worse. Yeah. 5 years from now, you're gonna be worse off.
I wish I would have started this 3 years ago, back when I bought the place, but I didn't know that this industry was such a crapshoot whenever I bought the business.
Right.
I didn't know it needed that much fixing. I'm like, wow, we got to pass laws for this? That's crazy. Like, that was not my first solution. I've been down all these roads of charging customers and this, that, and the third. And there's like 50-something shops in my area, and like 24 of us are independent. There is a very healthy blend of MSO and independent. And so like there's no market, like it's a war out here to get customers in the door. Like you want there's a lot of body shops in Tulsa. Just look it up on Google Maps, body shop in Tulsa. Look at how many stinking shops there are. It's insane. And they're not all Gerbers and Calibers. There's a lot of independents. There's a big one that just dropped. It's called Swift. They're the second biggest body shop in the nation.
I've spoken to them. Yeah, I've spoken to Swift. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like, they're right down the street from me. And so they're the people that I say competition. They're my neighbors.
Yeah.
I don't look at any independent repair as my direct competition, because ultimately it takes all of us to get the change that helps the customer in the end.
So Payne, this is going to be a long one, so it's going to be a nightmare to edit this. But I do want to ask you my ending question here. So, who should I've been asking people, who should I have next on my podcast? Like, is there anybody you recommend that you think does something that is really stand out? Like, it could be anything, like the way they do their bookkeeping, or the way they organize the parts department, or whatever. Is there anybody that you've kind of experienced that you're like, oh, you need to go talk to so and so about such and such, that an owner would kind of find interesting? Anything come to mind?
Oklahoma Auto Body Association president, Jessica Stegner. She's awesome. She'll talk to you just as much as I will. Brian Shellum with Advanced Automotive Equipment. He's very knowledgeable. He's the legislative chair of the Auto Body Association. He's kind of who I'm under there. And he's very knowledgeable. He's very, very experienced in the political landscape, and give you a whole lot more information when it comes to how to navigate getting a bill passed, connecting with senators. He spends a lot of time at the Capitol. He's also in the education space, like schools and whatnot. So I know he's done a lot of good there. And I don't know. He's way more equipped to talk about this stuff. You're the first person I've actually sat down and had a powwow about what I'm doing. And so,
well, hopefully this will get the word out. Maybe more people will approach you and say, hey, Peyton, I heard what you're doing. I mean, I got to promote my podcast a little bit better than I am, but I'm going to work on that. But, if this gets out there, you might be surprised. Somebody might pick it up and just say, it goes in our newsletter, and our newsletter hits every state. So, you might be surprised. In fact, if it's okay with you, I'll put your contact information in the show notes so that people can reach out to you. Maybe they've got ideas of what should go into a bill, or help you pick up some of the load, so it's not all on you to do this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm all for it. And lastly, if you can get Larry or Kristen Felder on here, oh gosh, they're great to talk to.
Yeah.
I have never had the opportunity to actually communicate with them on the phone or face to face, but we've talked through text and talked through Facebook.
Oh,
they're so knowledgeable, man. They're just some veterans of the industry.
You need to come out to. I don't know what's on their schedule as far as. So Kristen and I met way back at the beginning of Collision Hub. We were sitting next to each other at a Collision Industry Council meeting. I was just getting my marketing agency off the ground, and she said, "Hi, I'm Kristen, and I'm with Collision Hub. We're a Facebook for collision repair." That was her original intent, a social media platform. So way back when, early digital days of social media and everything, people were trying to figure out, like, is there a Facebook for this, or is there a Yelp for that? And so that was her original thing, was to get all the collision talking in one spot, and she's been very successful at it. She's the voice of the collision industry, in my opinion. But yeah, we go way back. I've done all of her. I was always her marketing guy that she recommended. I still do her C20 group for marketing. So,
that's awesome.
But I would recommend, if you ever want to meet with Kristen, is if they're ever teaching one of their classes live, and Larry too, go attend one of their classes. They'll definitely, there's usually like an after event dinner or something like that for everybody that goes. So that's if you ever want to kind of kick back and have a whiskey with the two of them, that's probably the easiest way to do it. So
yeah, absolutely. We need to connect and do that. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, Hitman, I appreciate you letting me do the podcast. I'm sorry I talked your ear off. I don't know how long it's been.
It's almost 2 hours, but I'll edit it down. Obviously, it won't go stay. All of it will stay in here. We'll cut to the good stuff, but thanks for being on here. And I'll let you know as soon as I get it out.